From the roar of the crowd to the stories behind the screens, this is Sounds of the Arena, your home for everything esports, gaming, and the people shaping the industry. Sounds of the Arena is brought to you by Ghostify Esports and Superpods.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sounds of the Arena podcast. It's been a while. I think since December of, I don't know when was our last episode, but we are back with another episode. I'm gathered here today with my design lead here at Ghostify Lnhart. You want to introduce yourself, man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? We're back. I'm Lnhart. You guys might know me from the Halo scene. I also do all the creative direction for Ghostify. Super glad to be here.
Yeah, and we're working on since our comeback, we've called it Project Resurgence. We haven't tweeted it out as that or anything, but I've given hints as the teams when we play in Halo, it's just call it Resurgence. But that's kind of going to be the theme of this episode, just the resurgence of we had to take a step back a little bit and just kind of reevaluate things. And I learned a lot during that time of the ups and downs of running an org and the do's and don'ts, and just overall our journey from the initial rebrand, which is a little over literally a few days over a year ago since we rebranded from the purple Ghostify, which was literally just an HRL team name at that time, to what we got going on now. And maybe I'll drop some potential intel on some things coming up. But I don't know if you want to take the floor on some of this resurgence stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We've been on a little bit of hiatus, evidently, even with the podcast itself. But kind of what Nascast was saying, we've just been realigning our priorities, working from the shadows, no pun intended. Um, hashtag haunt the arena. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, so we just kind of had to figure out the new vision and kind of just working with this tagline, making a resurgence and trying to kind of keep our focus for how we're envisioning where we're going. But yeah, as you were kind of saying, we did our official rebrand um just over a year ago. If you guys remember the OG logo, I mean, you have to be an OG to remember it. Um
Yeah,
but
OG. There's I don't think anybody remembers that besides us.
right. So if you know, you know, but if not, yeah, we kind of started this whole thing was that Nascast, he had a HRL team. He just wanted to hit me up because he knew I had a little bit of experience with graphic design, and I'm typically, I was just open to looking for new opportunities and ways to grow. So I helped with that, but it wasn't anything too crazy, too official. But when I got word that we were that he was wanting to make it something, bigger than what it was, and that he wanted me on board for it, that's what kind of sparked the rebrand that you guys know um, today. And then ever since then, we've just kind of been, growing the brand, growing the visuals, learning a lot with it ourselves. And we had to take some time off to kind of figure out the new direction we want to go in. But from my end, I was leading the creative, visuals and the designs. The new stuff's pretty exciting, and I like being able to, push the brand forward. And the more stuff I make and the more ways we're able to represent ourselves, the closer I feel like we get to, the vision we want to be at. But it's always ever evolving, and that's kind of the beauty of it all. So we've just been growing with it, and we're glad to have you guys a part of the journey too.
Yeah, and I didn't even think to mention at the beginning. Speaking of new, hope you guys enjoyed the intro, whether you're listening, you get to hear it, but also check it out on YouTube because there is a video portion of it. It's not the greatest looking. I put it together myself for a crisp free 99. But I wanted to have some kind of intro to it rather than just jumping straight into us yapping. So I was really happy with that. But yeah, I mean that whole little hiatus thing, we were kind of starting to fall down into that rabbit hole that I feel like a lot of orgs fall into. I see it a lot in Call of Duty and occasionally with some of these Halo orgs, but there's not a ton of Halo orgs, and so the ones that have stuck around have kind of figured it out. But just throwing money at teams and not really gaining anything back from it, right? Not really focusing on what really the return on investment is when it comes to the esports scene. I feel like a lot of people, when they get in, they're thinking, oh, the prize money and results and this and that, and just pure social media is gonna pay everything. And in reality, I mean, the social media and content does provide a decent amount of income, but you have to actually build it up. Like that takes a long time. Like what I've been doing, we've been trying to build this stuff for over a little over a year now, and we're still, we just made the Twitch, so we were a little bit behind on that. But like our Twitter's still only at it's still a little under 200. Instagram's under like a little over 50 followers. Like that stuff takes a long time to build. Our YouTube's only at like 18 subs. But the prize money, you only get into that if your teams are basically like semi-pro or pro, and at that point they're going to be asking for salary, travel coverage. So you're putting yourself at an insane deficit off rip. And there's some orgs that they promise more than they can pay, and you get people frauding. And then there's also orgs that'll go in and they're not so much about that, or they'll only do it with one esport, which is fine, but then they'll bring on all this staff and start paying their staff, or paying, they're actually paying the staff, but again, then they're putting themselves in such a deficit off rip. Like when it comes to starting off an org, you either have to have some deep pockets and very disposable income, whatever you want to call it, or you got to have some people that are willing to be in the trenches for a while and build something up till money starts showing, so you can actually operate at a profit. Because even now, I mean, it's not crazy, but we're at a deficit just because of I mean, it's on Twitter that we're going to TPC champs, but that team pass alone was like $350. I was straight out of my pocket. Like I think the only income we've had so far is a little bit of jersey sales, and like $20 from that because one person bought a jersey. And some of like the tournaments that we're running, very small amounts of income, but that just goes back to LAN teams in the future. So yeah, we were involved in a lot of different esports too. I mean, we were involved in Halo, Rocket League, COD, and 2XKO, and I knew nothing about 2XKO, so I had no business being in that. Rocket League was a pain in my rear end because getting 14-year-olds to like do anything like responsibly or show up for anything or sign up for anything is impossible. So I props and kudos to the orgs that have successful Rocket League teams and run that. Don't want any part in it right now. That was an absolute nightmare to run. I think we were in a league for like a month or two, and they like lost all but one game and didn't make playoffs, and then they dropped like 2 people and we couldn't find more players for it. And then COD too, I tried getting involved in that U18 league. That was a mistake. Couldn't find anyone to do anything there because again, it's all like 16 to 14-year-olds. But now we're refocused into staying with Halo and COD because that's what me and Lnhart, we compete in Halo and both play COD, so we're very familiar with those scenes. It's important to be involved in scenes that you fully understand, so you don't have a rug pulled over your eyes when teams try to market themselves to you and they're like, oh, we placed top 24 in challengers, we're the shit. No, you're decent, you're not the shit. No travel coverage for you. But yeah, so we're focusing on that with eyes to maybe expand into like Apex or something like that in the far future, not right now. With the LVT League, for Halo's supposed to come back in August. I don't know if you saw that.
I did
That
see that. Yeah, I'm excited.
that Louis tweeted about that, so that's hype. And then we got obviously the TPC champs. COD's always running. There's a ton of online leagues. MW4 is right around the corner. The game looks great. So very promising on that end, and just really trying to build up our content. This TPC event, we're gonna have a ton of content coming off of that. You know, TikToks, Instagram Reels. We're gonna have a photographer there to do pictures. Gonna try and do some kind of recap, mini documentary, whatever a step below that. Probably nothing crazy quality there, and just filming fun content with our players to get a true return on investment. Because I've seen a lot of orgs, especially in Halo, they just throw money at teams and they'll do really good and they get a little bit of exposure from the teams repping the org, but they don't do any content with it. And I just don't get it. And I guess I get it from one end, because if they're sending a travel coverage team, they're really just fronting the money, because I'm pretty sure what HCS always did is it was a reimbursement back. So the org would just front it up front, so the players never had to take a hit, and then the org would just get the money back. But you're also trusting that the players are actually going to send that back to you if you don't have them sign contracts. So I guess it's really not a loss for them, and it's free advertisement, but you're also taking like that $4,000 hit for a while. Like, I don't know a lot of people that just are able to take that hit like that, because HCS, love them, love competing in it, but sometimes stuff takes a while to get money back. We get it, shit happens. But you could be sitting on that.
I still don't know if I got my money from Charlotte or not.
I did. I got mine from Charlotte and Worlds. I got paid out. So
I
no
gotta
hate
look
to
back
them.
into that.
But yeah, just really and I also just needed to finish college, because I was in my last semester of college and just moving out and all that stuff needed to happen first before I decided to start reinvesting into this again. I think.
Did you just graduate?
Yeah, in May.
Congratulations, bro. That's big time. That's big time.
Big brain hours. But I feel like a lot of org owners and just
Real studious
executive boards could really use that step back and just think about what we're doing. What you're doing, is it actually profitable? Because I guarantee you, most of the orgs you talk to, if you ask them if they're operating at a profit or anywhere near it, they'll tell you no. And it's like, okay, well, why are you doing what you're doing? And if you're just doing it for the love of the game and to help the community, well, kudos to you. I love that. But at the end of the day, I think everybody's running this to have a business. People want their orgs to become like an LA Thieves, an Optic. Or I don't know why I said LA Thieves, 100 Thieves. But one of those premier esport orgs where everybody's making money. But what people forget to see is, Optic and Thieves and Gentlemates and those teams, they're not making money off of the teams winning. Sure, that's probably a portion of it, but most of the time the players keep most of that money. They're making, Optic's making money off of literally just content farming everything and everyone. You breathe, it's content. And they make decent merch too, but Thieves, that's where Thieves thrives, is they have hella merch collabs and they have amazing merch ideas and whatnot, and they also do good content. I just wish more orgs would get more content out of their things. I've seen it a little bit more now. I know Telluride Bush Gaming, they've started doing some content, which has been cool to see. Luminon's been doing more content in the Halo side of things. So definitely some people also starting to take that approach, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd say with that, especially as a startup, for us, you kind of have to be business minded to some extent, because ultimately, I mean, that is kind of what it is, so you have to treat it that way. And I mean, everything you said is just the facts of the matter, right? So I mean, if you guys were curious what goes on behind the scenes to try to make this work, build up an org, run an org, especially as a startup, those are the lessons we've had to learn, but that was also kind of a necessary part of the process to realize what we need to be able to prioritize. And I'd say going forward, we're trying to expand like our social media presence like first, kind of like create more of a community, try to engage with you guys and like put stuff out there for you guys to interact with, like and just see. Um so, that's kind of like where I go hard at, where I try to make my social media graphics, just try to make stuff like pop out on the timeline for you guys, try to create something visually interesting. Um that doesn't look just something like, like a cookie cutter like
Or AI slop.
image. So yeah, we try to like we do our best to stand out, but we've definitely had to like keep learning. I mean, basically, like what you guys are looking at on your screen right now with me and Nascast, I mean, like
It's
the
pretty much
team
a
at that's essentially the team at Ghostify. So like, if you guys weren't really sure like what all is involved, like
yeah.
it's mainly us two just cooking cooking up some ideas, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had
Um
some, there's to give some
Credit to
shout
everyone
outs.
else. Yeah, credit to
Yeah,
everyone else that we have worked with and people who have volunteered and given us an extra hand.
yeah, we've worked with a
Um,
couple of great video editors and graphic designers to help you take off some stuff off your shoulders. And big shout out to Halo Growth Guild, who's partnering with us for this upcoming 2v2
yes,
tournament
sir.
that we're
Yes,
hosting. If
sir.
you're hearing this, you absolutely have time to sign up. Anybody of
There's
all
still
skill ranks is
time.
welcome. Go sign up for that. It's on July 25th, a doubles tournament. But shout out to them for partnering with us on that and fronting the initial $100 prize pool. And also shout out to Luminon. We have an absolutely phenomenal relationship with them. Always helping us promote our stuff, vice versa, promoting their stuff. Back to the SLC collab that we did with them, that was awesome.
Yes, sir.
But that relationship's great, and I really feel like that like orgs and different esports can really they it should be more of a community, and they should be able to lean on each other. Like you see it a little bit in challengers, like I think the Stallions and Bush had a collab team, and FaZe Falcons has a collab team. Like those collab, like I want to see more of that, because that gives players more opportunities, and it's the orgs being honest that like now granted those orgs have the money to send their main teams, but they don't have the money to send a second team, so they're collabing to give another team an opportunity under a unique name. So I love when people do that, because that's orgs being
Mm.
honest up front that they don't have funds to send a team, so let's work together with someone else. um, but yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but definitely wanted to give some
Oh no,
people some
you're all
shout outs
good.
there.
Yeah, I mean, we're always so fortunate to have anyone who, wants to collaborate with us and work with us, and we're always open to, have more people join the team, and anything that gives us like more experience to just be involved in the esports scene is like a blessing. Obviously, at our core, like we want to be an esports team where like we have like a physical presence like at tournaments, and like have team like premier teams that we want to feature. um, and that's kind of how we started out, with what Nascast was mentioning, where we're kind of trying to be like involved in everything. We kind of dipped our toes into a lot of esports to like see what would stick. Um, but now I think we really kind of want to just hone in on what we believe in and what we're personally engaged in the most. So, I mean, I don't see a world where we'll ever not be involved in Halo. I mean, that's where like we really want to like sink our feet in and like make our presence known. I would say there's stuff to look forward to with a Call of Duty team, as mentioned. So I feel like those two FPS titles like go really hand in hand personally. Um, but outside of that, like we want to give kind of back to like our community, and that is by hosting tournaments and like having we want to do like community eights nights and those kinds of things. So definitely don't miss out on the 2v2 tournament. That's kind of going to be our first test at
Community
that,
event,
but
yeah.
we're planning to, have a broadcast. I'm hopefully going to be playing in it myself. But like we want you guys there too. And we're gonna have community eights nights, and like that's open, that's welcome to anyone. You don't have to be a member of Ghostify to, engage with the people who are a part of the team, but we're always interested if you do want to join. And then outside of that, I would like, at least for me, like I'm really proud of the merch we have, and we're planning to have more in the future. And that's something I think we both want to like build up to where like you guys can like be proud to like want to represent the brand, and have a cool piece of apparel like for yourself that like you feel inclined to like want to get. But it's our jobs to make you guys want to feel that way, right? um so we're just trying to kind of keep expanding in that ways, give you guys new ways to engage with us. And then we're always going to have a focus on esports, but we can't do every esport all at once, and we don't want to like neglect our social media presence, our community, and we want to be able to host things and do more for y'all.
Yeah, I feel like we bring a unique perspective when it comes to orgs, right? Being uh, myself a player owner, and then you're also a player, and there's not a ton of other orgs that do it. At least in Halo, it's literally just us, and then TLF also does it. But it's tough because at SLC and Charlotte, we weren't on this team, right? For SLC, we weren't on the collab team; we were on our own team. So thankfully, Luminon helped us out with covering our team. But Charlotte was really, really difficult because you and me both were on separate teams for the first time that whole year. Plus, we had the Ghostify boys there, so I really didn't get to get, or I didn't get to get any content out of them that I wanted to because I was playing. Um, Thankfully, some freelance photographers took a couple nice pictures of them, just for their portfolio that I was able to receive. So that was just pure luck. That's kind of the tough thing about being a player owner, and I think the really tough thing is the whole point of doing this is to set ourselves up for when inevitably we become unk status and can't keep up anymore on the sticks. But
Fair
until
enough.
then, it's balancing it, and then when like actually getting to that point of truly knowing when it's time to let go per se of competing, actually prying yourself of that. But I feel like having the ownership and the business portion of it helps with that. And you see like that's across all sports. Usually on the latter half of their careers, athletes start investing in teams. Like Tom Brady did that. He's like a minority owner in the Raiders. Patrick Mahomes owns like I think some of the Kansas City Royals or something like that. But just learning the business, whether you're an athlete or esports or whatever you're in, just learning the business side of things to set yourself up for when the fun and games are over. But it's definitely too a weird feeling. Like, thank God we have never had to do it, but like being on the opposite side of the table from your actual team, because it's like I want to win, but I also don't like, especially if it's in lowers. Like, I don't want to knock out the team I
Right.
paid to be here, but I also don't want to go home. It's like a conflict of interest there. Luckily, we've never had to do that. Um, but I wonder, like, I don't think TLF's ever no, because I don't think they had to do it at Atlanta. I know they had. It was the first time they ever had two teams at Atlanta. They had like
Yeah.
Envor and then the pro team, and then they had their teal team that did pretty decent. But I don't think they played each other. But
Right.
I guess that would be kind of fun because like that would be like a game where like it's a, at least for the owners, like it's a win-win for either way, because like okay, your team loses, the team your org team moves on, so that's great for content, and that's a cool
It
story
would
to
make
have
for a
too.
good plot. Yeah, it'd be a good plot for
Yeah, and then
sure.
if you win, well, cool, you're going on in the tournament, it's whatever. But so I'll definitely be interested to see if that ever happens to us. It probably won't ever happen until like HCS comes back around. But like,
Yeah.
imagine like just getting up across the table and just yelling at your own team and be like, "I fucking own you," literally. I think when we sent the SLC team, I told Jamora that if we played them, if we beat them, I would get up over the table and tell him that, and he said that he was gonna like fly across the table at me Five Nights at Freddy's style and just like choke me out if I did that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was thinking kind of more about like what you were saying, about just kind of like using this as like the like growing this org and like being a part of it, like for you owning it and like me, like doing the creative direction. Like it's a good way to stay involved in esports, and I'm never gonna reach Unk status. I'm always gonna have it,
Mhm.
but kind of with like the current state of Halo, like especially, like we all know that the HCS like isn't gonna be coming back until the next like multiplayer title.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think like we were really lucky to, have our presence at the last two lands, but like with what you were saying, like while competing and like trying to like manage the teams, like that was definitely a lot like on your plate. And like even for me, like I remember like making like the announcement graphics, like like in the freaking like BNB for like the team, for like the day before, like trying to just get an announcement out for the Charlotte boys. And the same for the previous event. So like when we did the Luminon collab. But I think like we definitely had an interesting entry point into the scene, depending like how familiar you guys are with our history or not. um but Salt Lake was when we got to do our Luminon collab, as we mentioned previously. Shout out on Luminon for like making that like happen. That's kind of like what made us like kind of want to go at this like full force. Was like we had their backing, and like we were gonna be able to like field a team at Salt Lake, and like under the Ghostify X Luminon name, because like at the time we were still kind of like a little bit unsure, like just how to even get like jerseys produced,
Yeah, that took forever. But shout out Crit
right.
Apparel for getting us
shout out
right
crit
there.
Shout out Crit Apparel. um Definitely make sure to check out our merch shop to get a Ghostify
Oh,
jersey. Um, but yeah, that
W
was like
plug,
even just
W
something
plug.
like that. Something, but like even that was like an uncertainty. Was like like getting a team of jersey and all that, and then with Charlotte, we were able to field Ghostify Halo, and I would say both of those were like big successes. Um, and that's definitely something we want to do like more in the future. But we both come from like a unique perspective of like being competitors ourselves, as you were kind of mentioning. And I think that kind of helps us. I would say that kind of gives us some sort of an advantage in just having that firsthand experience like as a competitor.
Mhm.
But for me personally, kind of not knowing the certain future of like Halo, like yes, there's gonna be stuff to compete in, but it's like, am I really gonna be putting like this like full time like investment in like Halo Infinite, like continuing forward without there being an HCS? Like I'm not sure. Like I love playing the game, I love competing. Um and like I personally feel ready to go whenever there's like a new multiplayer game, and I'm
Same
always looking forward to the current opportunities there are. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like the current opportunities are limited, right? And a good way for me to still feel engaged and connected with like the esports scene without the HCS is like doing Ghostify. So that was just kind of the thought I wanted to share, is that, kind of while I'm waiting to figure out exactly where my competitive journey is going, like, I know I'm not going anywhere away from the esports scene as long as, like, I'm still here, like, with Ghostify, and it really has been a great, like, opportunity, and, like
And I'm really excited for the future here, especially with this. Hopefully, the COD team that I was talking to earlier today, we get on board. Great group of guys, and they're all super passionate and hungry to win. Big trash talkers. It's like four scraps, so that's gonna be really really fun content for the shit out of them because they're on board with that. Um, but just kind of looking at our time here, I think might wrap up this episode. But stay on the lookout. On top of this episode, I should be having another episode coming out about the Kaiser, Florida LAN that just recently happened. Looking to hopefully, I have to still hit them up, but maybe get Ninja Dilly and Mini Berserker here on the podcast and talk about that LAN. Get some actual views on the first like actual local LAN. You know, I also competed at it and just kind of a feel like a different feel for a LAN other than a major. Like kind of felt like back like what probably the MLG days felt like. So stay on the lookout for that. Again, huge shout out to our partners at Superpods for helping us put together the podcast. Like always, Crit Apparel for hooking us up with some great merchandise, and Hoggers too. We didn't really mention them, but make sure if you need any type of hydration or energy, check out poggers.com and get yourself right with either some hydration or energy formulas. And make sure you use code Ghostify at checkout for 10% off. It's free money.
right on.
Gotta take it. I think it's like $4 or $5 off to get a nice big setup there. So that's all from me. Leonard, if you wanna say any closing remarks before we end here.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for watching and being interested in what we do. Today was kind of about giving you guys a little bit of a inside look from the ghost, like me being a Ghostify member myself, and Zach's perspective is always really valued as he does like the whole operations. Definitely just make sure to stay tuned on our socials. We want to be planning more Project Resurgence, like that's what's up. So keep engaging with us and we'll try to engage with you. I'll give myself a little bit of a plug if you don't mind. We'll see you with my stream. It's just Lenhart underscore. Stream rank, stream Halo. But as a graphic designer, Ghostify has really been a good way for me to expand my skill set and really make me feel like I'm getting professional experience and I'm always getting better. I post my own personal graphics on Twitter. It's Art by Lnhart. And if you guys are ever interested in getting work done for me, feel free to hit me up. My DMs are always open. I think you guys would like my work. Everything you see behind the Ghostify brand is primarily from me originally. But other than that, just thank you guys for supporting us, and we're looking forward to continue growing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much. We will see you in the next episode.